Yo, what's up?
Chris, where you at, man?
Yo, I'm on the way, right?
Look,
Yo,
we gotta shoot the show, man. Do not be late.
Yo, I'm literally in the Uber right now.
You're not in the Uber. You're gonna be late.
I am in the Uber. Why
You're always late, brother.
Let's go. Feast your eyes, them boys is here. King and Christain, you know we making noise this year. Relatively speaking, we a couple of greats. You know I'm down to rap, but it ain't up for debate. We had enough of the hate from you internet trolls. You see the names, man, just give us the throne, cause it's on. And we got something to say, it's gonna be something to see. Now it's a family gathering, you should RSVP. Now let's One go. Young fly, flashy, living his life. The other tucking in the kids, staying in with the wife. Whether it's 9 to 5 or knee deep in the game, how could they be so different but one and the same? This Pacino, De Niro, Stockton Malone. Ideas, jokes, and wisdom off the top of the dome. And come on. We got something to say, it's gonna be something to see. Now it's a family gathering, you should RSVP. Now let's go. MJ or LeBron, is it Nas or Sean? Everybody looking for the greatest of all time. Entertainment, sports, faith, political views. Curators of the culture that's bigger than views. Let's have a real discussion. We ain't concealing nothing. Who'd have thought the nephew and uncle now is really brothers? We got something to say, it's gonna be something to see. Now it's a family gathering, you should RSVP. Now let's go. Yeah, relatively speaking. Woo.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is Relatively Speaking, RSVP.
Yeah.
I am one of your hosts, King.
It's your boy Christian.
And we are back in the building. Took a week off. How you feeling, man?
I feel good. I feel refreshed. You know, I feel like we took a week off, kind of let it simmer and marinate a little bit.
Of season 1.
Yes, sir.
Coming at you, episode 6. 6 episodes in, man.
Yeah.
And the response has been getting pretty good.
Yes.
Members picking up, followers picking up.
People really like the pastor money. It was a lot of insight and thoughts on that one.
Last episode we went into the pastor money, talking about that money. And this episode, we are going deep in discussion about something that has been prevalent in the church for years.
Okay.
But most people tend to shy away from it and not talk about it. But here on Relatively Speaking, we go right over the plate. We ain't throwing no curveballs.
No curves.
It's all fastballs right over the plate.
No sliders.
So we gonna talk about it. We're talking about homosexuality, alternative lifestyles in the church.
Okay.
And one of the things that I know for a fact is that homosexuality has always existed in the church.
Yes, very much true.
But one of the things that I also know is that we tend to not talk about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of churches, in my opinion, that almost pretend like it's not really there.
You think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think you can see, you know, certain signs.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that we just kind of like turn a blind eye to it sometimes, and we don't really talk about it. We don't really address it. We just kind of try to pretend like we don't really know what's going on.
Well, I think it's because nobody really knows how to start the conversation. And I think it's because the church doesn't necessarily agree on what the position is to even have a conversation.
We got a lot of people that feel one way. We got a lot of people that feel the other way. And if we're honest about it, it's a very sensitive topic.
I agree.
Okay? Especially in this day and age, when you talk about certain subjects, you can get into the danger zone real quick. I said on a previous show that especially when it comes to the LGBTQ community, I said that you will never find a bigger community with more bullies.
I can actually attest that you did say that.
I did say that.
Yes, you did.
And I want to go ahead and explain why I said that. I said that because when you don't agree with their community, when you say anything that is not in agreement with what they feel, it's a wrap for you.
Cancel.
You're done.
Cancel.
All right, they're taking you out at the knees. They pulling up tweets from 1939. What? What you say?
Handwritten tweets.
And they would take you out. They pulling out scrolls back in 1687. You said that having to start the fire with sticks is gay, and we just don't agree with
We're
that.
done with you,
right? And so it's amazing. I've always said it's amazing that I believe their bottom rock stance has always been love is love, right? They've always preached love is love, you know, acceptance and all these things. And then I just think it gets a little murky in the waters because they're preaching the acceptance, but they don't necessarily practice the acceptance. And so we're going to talk about some very interesting things.
Yeah.
And I feel like from my background, if some of you out there don't know, being on gospel radio,
which you were,
being to see behind the curtain,
which you have,
so to speak, and being a gospel artist,
yes,
you see a lot of things that you don't really, you know, you kind of talk about in the back room or whatever, but you don't really,
you can't really say out loud.
You don't really talk about this out here, right there.
Right.
And we're gonna talk about it. And I'm gonna try not to, you know, I'm gonna try not to give specifics.
Please don't give specifics.
I'm gonna try not to.
Okay.
But it's RSVP. We gotta keep it relative. I'm gonna try not to give specifics, but I will tell you that there were numerous times where I was a fan of an artist, right? That came to the radio station. I was like, oh man, so and so is coming. Can't wait to meet him. This is about to be amazing.
Love their music, love their ministry.
Music, love their ministry.
Yeah.
You know, super anointed.
Yeah.
They come off the elevator and it's like, oh, okay. You know, it's a little flamboyant, a little sashaying throughout the entire building.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Gotcha.
And I did an album release.
I was actually there that night.
I did an album release.
Yeah. We was at Ebenezer?
My first album, Ebenezer. We was at Ebenezer. My first album, Let's Get It Right. And it was a great show.
Great show.
I was on the platform with some major artists.
Big.
It was some names.
No, it was some names.
It was some names on there.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was almost at arrive, like I had almost made it. And so I'm sitting there at the tape table. If you don't know, when you're an artist, they give you a tape table. You get to sit down, you get to sell your CDs, merchandise, and things like that.
This is like back in the day.
Back in the day.
When we sold CDs.
You know, I know some of y'all might not even know what that is right now.
Tape table.
But we actually sold CDs. They were like little things that you put in your car, right? And so I'm sitting there and we're selling the CDs, and one of these well-known artists came over to the table, and he said to me, I want to buy 5 copies of your CD.
Very nice gesture.
Very nice gesture. I was blown away.
Yeah.
This guy's, you know, super big artist. I'm like, wow. But then he threw a little bit of a curveball, just kind of threw me off a little bit.
What'd he say?
He said, bring them up to my study.
All right, first of all, study's weird in itself. Who has a study? What is that? What are we talking
It
about?
was his office, whatever,
Okay.
you know.
I know what an office is.
You know, the church, back in the day, they used to call it the study.
Bring them up to my study. That is, I'm sorry, that's funny to me.
So when he told me to bring him up to his office, you know, he was explaining that he had to go and the blah, 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 bring him up to my office. I don't have the money right down here.
This is the same night. Bring them up.
This is the same night, right? And so, you know, I had some process of eliminations. You know, I'm kind of like, your tape table's down here, my tape table's down here. You don't have the cash. Bring them up to your office. Okay. Now, I've been in church all my life.
Yes.
But I've also been in the streets. And I gotta tell you that my street radar started going off a little bit.
Spidey senses were tingling.
Something is amiss.
Something's awry. Something's gone awry.
And so I asked one of my elders that was with me at the time, I said, listen, you know, so-and-so wants to buy 5 CDs. He wants me to bring them up to his office. I need you to go with me. Right?
Very wise idea.
Yeah, I need you to go with me because I'm going to tell you right now, the person that asked for these CDs, you know, he's kind of a stocky, you know, kind of a bulky dude.
Now, at this point, did you, prior to him throwing you off and your spidey senses tingling, did you have any suspicions about this?
No, not at all.
This is completely left field at this
No,
point.
it's completely left field.
Okay,
but
cool.
when he asked that, when he made that request, it was just kind of like, you know.
I'm take some precautions.
I'm going to take some precautionary measures here. Because if this dude balls me up in this office, I'm gonna, listen.
I have no options.
You know, I'm just saying, you know, he was kind of a big dude. I wasn't really in the gym like that. You know, I just wanted to take certain precautions for my own sake. And so we go up there, and I knock on the door.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm assuming he knows that I'm coming. He told me to bring the CDs up.
He's expecting you.
And so he says, who is it? And I say, it's King. And he says, are you alone? And I said, no, I am not alone. I got one of my elders with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought the "are you alone" kind of threw me off. And then he said, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have no women with you because I'm getting dressed. And he opens the door, and behind the door, he is standing there in his tighty whities. And when I say tighty whities, I'm talking about the 5-year-old white briefs, not even the boxer briefs.
Just full
like
thigh.
the full
Full
you get
thigh
full,
meat.
you get
Full
you
thigh
get all
meat.
the thigh meat.
All the ligaments are exposed.
All this up here is just all, yeah. So you know, he opened the door. I give him the money. I give him the CDs. He gives me the money. Shuts the
I hope
door.
you didn't give me any money.
No, I didn't give him the money.
That wouldn't be good.
And so when he shut the door, me and the person that went up there with me, we just kind of looked at each other, and it was kind of like
that unspoken, like,
yeah,
that just happened.
yeah. And he looked at me and he said, you know, it was a smart move that you brought me with you. And I said, definitely.
That's an interesting story. And you've told me that before, but for some reason it's a little more weird now.
And I'm just telling you that this is a very prominent, well-known figure.
Still very active in the...
Very active in the gospel community. And it just kind of struck me like, And so there's kind of like this hidden society in the gospel community, in the Christian community, where it's almost like they know, you know, and they operate. And even in the secular world, where more and more people are coming out speaking about how most of the gatekeepers to break into the industry live an alternative lifestyle, where in order for you to break in,
you gotta pay to play.
You gotta pay to play. You gotta kind of compromise a little bit in order to, you know, get to this next level.
And I think the thing that's shocking, or would be shocking to most people who are fans of the gospel industry, is that the gospel industry is just as wild,
and
lascivious,
crazy, if not crazy,
as the secular industry.
Yeah,
you know, which is something I had to learn as well.
I wanted to ask you this: which way do you prefer? Do you prefer to know, or do you prefer for them to just kind of like, this is my own battle that I'm dealing with. I don't want everybody in my business, so I'm going to walk around and I'm going to pretend that what I am or what I'm feeling is not really what's going on. Are you more on the, I'd rather you just be open, or are you on the, you know, and that because it's you know, somebody in that level of influence.
Yeah.
You know, that has that influence, that the eyes are on them and the people are watching them. And maybe they're saying, you know, I don't want to be a bad influence or whatever. I don't know what their reason might be.
Yeah, I don't think I prefer it either way. I think what I would say is that it's more about the mentality. I think we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
I can't really put myself in that situation or them shoes to say, hey, you should come out and say it because of the how you gonna get ostracized and judged and how people are gonna attack you.
Right.
I wouldn't sign up for that myself.
Exactly.
But if it's in a, you know, where I have to draw the line is if it's in a, you know, deceptive, manipulating kind of like a, I'm not struggling. I'm committed to this lifestyle and I'm deceptive and I'm struggling and I'm inviting people up to the office and don't know about, like that kind of thing is where I got to draw the line. So whether you're open, if you're open, like, yo, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I feel at this time.
Right.
I won't judge you and I can accept that person. If you're like, man, it's really a burden for me and I don't want to just come out, I don't want to come out, I don't want to subject myself to that kind of scrutiny and discrimination. I understand that as well.
Right.
It's the deceptive, like, almost evil, like, under
like, you don't even know it's coming.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I wanted to do, or what we wanted to do, was instead of us sitting here and having our opinions and speaking from the outside, we got a special guest that is actually going to come and have a conversation with us and give us a little better insight on it. Because I feel like in order to have this conversation, both sides need to be represented. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into this conversation. We got a lot more coming. So don't go nowhere. We're Relatively Speaking.
RSVP.
Hi, I'd like to invite you to the 7th Annual International Christian Film and Music Festival, presented by 24 Flicks. This year we have some of the biggest names in the industry, including Lou Gossett Jr., Kevin Sorbo, the Cristiano Brothers, Joey Lawrence, Keisha Knight-Pulliam, Jackie Velasquez, T.C. Stallings, and so many more.
To listen and view Relatively Speaking video podcasts, subscribe to the YouTube channel, RSV Podcasts, also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. Join the RSV Podcast Facebook group to join in on the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, Relatively Speaking, RSVP. We are talking about homosexuality and alternative lifestyles in the church. And again, what we wanted to do was, instead of just having us two on here kind of talking about it, we wanted to bring our special guest. This is actually our first guest that we are having on the show.
Welcome.
So I want you guys to welcome Whit. What's going on, Whit?
Not much. What's going on,
What's up, Whitney? You straight?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Good to have a fellow dreadhead on the set.
Hey, you know.
A little left out. That's fine. So what we were talking about is previously we had mentioned about whether or not people were upfront, out in the open about their sexuality. And I want to tell a story about Whit.
Okay.
And why I wanted to have her on the show. So there was a particular time where Whit and my wife are very close friends, been close friends for a very long time.
Yes.
And so they invited us out one night. We went out to this thing, I think it was kind of like World of Beers.
Drink around the world.
Drink around the world, something like that.
I've done it.
You know.
I've been there.
This was an actual event though. I mean, I know you just.
Oh, I thought you meant just at the house. My bad.
And so we went down. It was a great time, great atmosphere, great fellowship, and so afterwards we decided that we were going to go get something to eat. So it's me and my wife, and it's Whit and her girlfriend, and we go sit down at this place, and we order our food, and we sit down, and we're about to start eating, and me and my wife, we just start going to town. I don't know if you ever had these chicken shawarmas downtown, but it was absolutely amazing.
You talking about right there next to Ono?
Right next to Ono, them chicken shawarmas.
Chicken shawarmas. You know that spot closed down.
Yeah, it did. I don't know why they did that. But we sit down and we in it.
Yeah.
You know? And I look across the table, and Whit and her girlfriend are saying grace. And it kind of shook me up, because it was like, here we are, the ones that in the church, you know, would seem like we're doing the right thing.
Whatever that means. Yeah.
And we ain't saying that. We ain't talking about none of this, right? We just went in and started eating. And so it was like,
all you said was, can I get some extra green sauce?
like, can I get And so it dawned on me, I was like, wow, okay. They're really believers.
Yes.
And I started thinking about that, and you know, me growing up in the church, me reading the Bible, knowing what the Bible says about certain things, I always felt like that those two were an oxymoron. To say that you were a believer and gay, homosexual, lesbian. I just thought that was like, how do you do the both? You know, it's got to be like a struggle or whatever. And I didn't want to, you know, obviously we was having a good time. I didn't want to have the conversation right then and there. Like, hey, what y'all doing?
What y'all talking about?
It was just thrown out there. So I figured I wanted to have you on to just kind of talk about how it is living the lifestyle. And so I got a bunch of questions. I know you got a.
I'm just
I know you got questions.
I'm gonna get in where I fit in.
But I feel like we got to start like all the way at the beginning with this.
Oh, wow.
So I want to ask you: do you think the lifestyle is a sin?
Yes.
So you just believe that having an alternative lifestyle, being homosexual, being lesbian, is a sin?
Yes.
Wow.
Wasn't expecting that.
I mean, because you have plenty of people. I mean, do you think that most people with an alternative lifestyle would agree with your statement?
It's more like a 50-50. Some people would. It all depends on how you interpret the Bible, honestly.
Okay.
Very true.
Me, I just believe off of what I've read that it is, but so is stepping out on your wife. You can cheat and still believe in God and follow the word. You can lie and still be a believer. You can commit all types of crimes and still be a believer. So why is my sin so ostracized?
Greater,
exactly.
Yeah, put on a greater scale
Exactly.
Than others.
Yes.
So when would you say you first realized you were gay?
When I knew what the word gay meant, probably 6th grade.
6th grade?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so do you believe that you were born gay, or do you believe that it is something that through your influences and being around certain things kind of, you know, it kind of nurtures you to one side or the other?
I wasn't around it. I wasn't influenced by it. I didn't know what it was. I remember first having those feelings as young as 5 years old.
Okay.
I didn't act on those feelings until 6th grade. And then once I knew that, okay, maybe this isn't right, I kind of put it to the side and tried to live quote unquote right.
Okay.
Obviously that didn't last, but yeah.
And so you actually tried to live a heterosexual life. Had boyfriends.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, and I'll let you get into your story. You had a child.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, had a child. You lost the child. How old was the child?
4 months old.
4 months old. When you lost the child, did that have did the what is it? The trauma? I'm trying to think of the word.
Yeah, trauma.
Did that trauma kind of affect you in your lifestyle decision as well?
Nah, not at all.
So you didn't. It wasn't like
Even when I was
not doing this no more.
Nah, it was even when I was in the relationship with my daughter's father for roughly 5 years. He knew and I knew that maybe this isn't the path that I'm gonna stay down. So it.
So did he know? He had some senses when y'all was in the
Oh, he
relationship?
knew. He knew.
So you smack him on the.
Nah, it was.
Your turn. No, I'm just trying to figure out how he knew.
I'm just mad that was so funny. Honestly.
Nah, we had some times where we weren't together in high school, and when I wasn't with him, I was with a female.
So can you just explain to me how that relationship goes for 5 years? Like, are you attracted to him? Do you like him?
He was handsome. I mean, I'm not blind. I can recognize when a guy or girl is good looking. He was a good looking guy. Funny looking at first, but he grew into his looks. I'm just kidding. But
hope he's watching.
Keep up alive, bro. I'm saying, like, would you say you were?
Would you say you were?
Like, were you just forced in a relationship for 5 years, or did you really want the relationship and enjoy the relationship?
What happened was my dad got married, and his wife was really, really, really into the church, really Christian. And
I love it when people say really Christian.
Really Christian.
Just really Christian, right?
Super Christian.
And I think she had an inkling that maybe I was lesbian or bisexual, or wherever I wanted to be at that time. And she came to me and said, you know, that's not right, blah, 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 blah. So I tried to change, not for her, but for her and my dad's marriage at that time, because I didn't want her to view me differently and make her feel some type of way about my dad, or my dad feel some type of way about her because she's not accepting me for who I was. So I tried to alter my feelings or the way I lived my life, and I actually prayed about it. I said, God, just send me somebody who's going to help me change and keep me changed. And me and him, we were together for 5 years, off and on. And then after our daughter passed, things just kind of went downhill. Not sexually or anything, just the communication between the two of us.
Relationship.
Yeah, it was rough.
That's a big thing to deal with.
It was rough because I felt like it was my fault. He felt like it was his fault. We were bumping heads every time her birthday came around, or it was just, the feeling was still there. He was like, listen, you're still gay. Just go be gay. There's no love lost. I still love you, but you're not happy anymore. So just go.
So when he said you're still gay, there was knowledge that you were previously, and then you guys tried to be in a relationship, and then so he already knew that you were trying to, you had already did this lifestyle, you were trying to change it, and do something different. When it comes to that moment of acceptance, I don't think that we know how to properly engage that conversation. What I did was I put a post up on our page and I asked, when is an acceptable age to allow a child to choose their sexuality? And I asked the question and I said, is it a choice? Is it never? Is it when they're a teenager? Is it when they're an adult? And the reason why I asked that question is because I think a lot of people don't really know how to address it or when to address it. So if my 5-year-old son comes out the room in a dress, do I just say, oh, that's funny, or do I, hey, no, that ain't what you do, and then kind of, it's like, because in this world today, it's like, we got, people that saying you gotta let them choose, you gotta let them do this, you gotta let them express themselves, you gotta let them be them, and I do know that there's a line where it can go too far. I mean, you got people asking, you gotta ask the child if you can change their diaper. I don't know if y'all heard this stuff. They got like these people out there now that saying you need to ask the child if you can change their diaper because you're seeing their private parts. So you need to ask the child.
As a parent?
Yeah, as a parent. It's getting weird.
Let's keep
moving.
The
last getting weird. So I want to know, what is the approach? What is the conversation when you go and you say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is who I think I am, or this is who I am, either or. What is that response that you guys are looking for in that moment?
Okay, well, for instance, my mom, who's also very much into the church, a very big believer, when I came out to her, it was kind of like a denial thing, like, yeah, you say you are, but it's just a phase.
Well, how old were you when that conversation happened?
I want to say 16 or 17.
Okay, so you was a little older, like you were almost an adult at this point. So prior to 16, 17, what was going on? What was the relationship? Were you just keeping it from them the whole time? Were they not seeing any signs or anything?
Well, I grew up with my dad mostly. My mom and dad split when I was young, and my dad knew before I even came out to him. He already knew. He's like, I know. I was like, oh, well, that was easy. My mom was a little harder because she was distant, and it was a phone conversation. It wasn't face to face. So no, I'm sorry, I take that back. I came out to her and out of anger, because she was upset with me about something and I was upset with her, and I actually told her in an email.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then when we revisited the conversation years later, and she obviously saw that that wasn't just something to say to make her upset, it was real life. And that's when she had a hard time accepting it. And it wasn't until maybe 4 years ago, I really had to break it down to her, until a point where she could understand it. And it's not so much that I feel like I'm being judged by her or pressured to convert or whatever. And we have a better relationship because
How old are you now?
I'm 31.
31. So 4 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm 27. This is when we really kind of like brought it home. What would you say to the people that says, because I'm sure people are listening, I'm sure they're conjuring up their own thoughts. I asked, is it an atmosphere? Is it nurtured or things like that? And you said you weren't around that atmosphere, but you were raised by your dad. So you
Technically, I was raised by my grandparents.
Well, raised by your grandparents. You were with your. So would you say you spent more time with your dad? Would you say Would you say he was more of an influence in your life than your mom, or would you say they were equal, or what would you?
No, my dad would have been more of an influence. Unfortunately, my mom missed a big chunk of my upbringing. And then my dad, being a single father, he went to his parents and was like, look, I need help. So I lived with my grandparents until my dad remarried, and then I moved in with him and his new wife.
Okay.
That was like 6th grade.
6th grade. And so coming out, you never, so would you say your official coming out was at 16, 17 years old?
17.
Right. So throughout the entire childhood, you were just kind of feeling what you were feeling and not really saying what was going on. To this day, do you struggle with it?
I used to. It took me a long time to be comfortable with the person that I am and being comfortable in my own skin and be like, either you're going to accept me or you're not. I'm not going to judge you for what you do or don't do, so I expect the same in return.
Okay. So when it comes to being a believer, you know, you have churches now where you got gay pastors, and then they have their first man and things like that. How do you feel about a gay pastor?
I feel like that's playing with God, honestly. Like, it's one thing to know that you're living in sin, but now you're broadcasting your sin and you're putting yourself in the church where you're supposed to be the shepherd for God's people, and it's a touchy subject, and I personally don't agree with it.
So you feel like it's a bad example to be up front and be someone who is leading the flock, and
it's just like having a pastor who openly cheats on his wife.
You feel like it's, I mean, I believe it's in the same category.
I do too.
What's your thoughts on this is me, this is who I am, you know? As a minister, because you have to.
Yes.
I mean, you have.
Yes,
to
I mean, this is something. There are gay people at my church. There are gay people in my youth and young adults ministry, or people who struggle. You know, I'm not just gonna put anything on anybody, but this is something that you have to address and have to encounter. I think where I would agree with her is the first thing that we have to establish when you start a conversation like this is love. We just have to completely take judgment out of the situation at all, because I agree with her. There are no, like, this sin is not worse than this sin.
Right.
It's there, you know, in 1 Corinthians 6, it has a list of people who won't inherit the kingdom. And homosexuals is on the list, but so is drunkards, so is adulterers, so is fornicators. So it's like, as far as the Bible's concerned, it's not this separate red cardinal thing.
There's no different degree.
There's no different degree.
Okay.
The way that I feel about the accept me as I am, and this would be my position, and I said this to King earlier, to me there's a difference between, and it's even a difficult for me to accept this term, alternative lifestyle. Because when you say lifestyle, you're kind of like telling God, yo, this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, and you have to accept me how I am. And I don't think anybody can come to God that way.
Not at all.
I don't think anybody can come to God like, these are my demands, this is my side of the table, this is non-negotiable, and you can leave this alone, but everything else you can be God for. I don't think that's the proper way to approach God for any believer. So to me, the question is always, and it goes back to what we were saying about the person who approached you. To me, it goes back to, is it a struggle? Like, is it like I hear you saying, I feel like it's a sin. Is it a struggle, or is it like, yo, this is who I am and God just got to accept me as I am? Because I do believe that we are to come as you are, but I think that God loves us so much that he changes us once we come as we are. And if you're open to God's best, if you're open to his will for your life and his purpose and his destiny for your life, then I think over time, as you go little by little, you can start to change more into the image of Christ. I believe Jesus, he walked on earth for 33 years, and I believe he encountered tons of homosexuals. I mean, it's all in the Bible. So I believe not only did he talk to lame people and people who couldn't see and prostitutes and adulterous women, but I think he encountered homosexuals and had the exact same love and acceptance for them that he has for anybody else. But I believe the power of God can change anybody into what he wants you what he wants you to be, not what the church says you should be. He has a purpose for you. Before you were formed, he knew you. So he has a purpose for you that is greater than what you can believe. And I think anytime you come to God like, yo, I'm gay, you got to accept me how I am, it's like you have to, anybody who comes to God has to come empty and broken, or he can't feel you. Right. He can only feel you to the degree that you're empty. So that's the thing I'm saying. If you're struggling with it, it's like we can talk about that. If it's something that's like, yo, I don't even know what God's best is for me, but I want that. If that's the posture, it's like, yo, I'm all the way with that. But the arrogance in it, like, you know what I mean, like, and that's what you're saying about pastors, like that arrogance, like I'm a gay pastor, like it's an arrogance to your sin, like this is just who I am. And I don't think it applies to just pastors. So I see what you're saying about being in the front and shepherds, but I believe we're all the pastor of our lives. Like, you know what I mean? You're the pastor of, you might be the pastor of your job, of your friend circle, of your school. We're called to be a kingdom of priests. So, and even pastors, we was talking about this in the last show, I feel like pastors are put on this pedestal where they're held to I mean they should be held to a higher standard, but pastor is one of fivefold ministry gifts. Pastors are grouped with teachers, prophets, evangelists. They're all grouped together, but we put the pastor above every other ministry gift. Like a pastor is more important than a teacher. No,
well, it's almost like they're the quarterback.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
so...
And I understand it, and I honor my pastor. I respect my pastor.
Yeah, they're the face, they're up there, they're out there.
That would be my thing.
Yeah.
Anybody, and it's not even about a homosexual thing. Sin, period.
Right.
If you come to God like, yo, this is my sin, I ain't changing it, and you can work on everything else but this. I don't think that's the right posture. But I think as believers, so there's a relationship with God and there's a relationship with each other. Right. And God is adamant about us paralleling our love for him with our love for his people. Right. The number one commandment, I don't know how you get any more clear than this, is love the Lord your God with all your mind, all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Right. So there is no room for judgment. There is no room for denying people or blacklisting people. That doesn't exist in the kingdom.
Culture
that doesn't exist in the kingdom.
In the kingdom.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. I really feel that. I really feel like we got to kind of check ourselves in the Christian community with the cancel culture.
That's crazy.
Because that canceling thing, that's just not what I believe God is about. And I believe that we're supposed to set that example.
Jesus literally delivered people in the Bible that the culture had canceled. Yeah. People who were cast out of the city and couldn't go into the city no more. The canceled people were the ones that he healed.
When he says, and I think where he's coming from, I want to make sure that I'm saying this right, is that there's a point where do you become comfortable in your sin? All right. So for me, if you say, yeah, I think it's a sin, but it's like, I think it's a sin, but I'm good with it. I think that's where I feel like, you know, it could be a little dangerous. For instance, because I'm a very transparent person.
Go ahead.
I have certain things that I struggle with. All right. At times in my life where I was trying to be this Christian, but I didn't want to fornicate, masturbation became my thing.
Which is also
right, which in the church realm they would definitely say
that's sexual immorality.
Yeah, they would say that's sexual immorality. You know, and there were times where it was a struggle for me because I was going to God and I'm going to God like, listen, God, I don't want to do this other thing, right? I don't want to break protocol on this, so I'm trying to, you know,
fix it yourself.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it myself, trying to. You know, but I always, every time, I always knew and felt like I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to keep doing this, but I kept doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
There's sometimes you get the urge to do it and be like, nah, I'm not gonna do it.
yeah, there's sometimes where I'm like, nah, all right, I gotta stop. And that's what I was
that's
asking.
a struggle.
Like, was it ever a time where do you ever have moments where you're like, you wake up, it may not stick, but you wake up and you're like, I don't want to, I just want to be like this no more. I don't want to do it no more. Was there ever times when you had that? Have you ever been sitting in church and you were like,
It sounds like you're saying you're past that point.
I may have been there in past relationships where I wasn't 100% happy with the person that I was with, but in the relationship that I'm with now, it would be extremely difficult for me to leave it alone.
So, I like what you said there, because is it really based on the love you have for this other person?
Definitely.
Or is it
110%.
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So now we're into the emotion part of it. So there's a connection, there's an emotional connection where it is, even if I wanted to, I don't want to let this go. I don't want to let this person go.
Right.
So to his point, is there a justification conversation between you and God where it's kind of like, God, you know what it is. You made me this way. Are you on that type of, listen, you made me like this. You know, if you ain't want me to be this way, what's up?
Right. And it goes back to what you said earlier about he knew me when I was in the womb before I was even made.
Right.
So, and me also not even having that influence in my life, how do I know what to like at 5 years old? Without having that influence. No one told me, you're a girl, you're supposed to like boys. No one came to me and said, hey, you're a girl, it's okay if sometimes you like girls. That's just what I felt at 5 years old. I remember clear as day.
Yeah.
So, and if children are supposed to be in the age of innocence, right, where we're not being judged, and if I was to die right then and there, even with those feelings, I'd still go to heaven because I didn't know any better. So, why would I have those feelings at 5 years old?
I'll answer that. I think that's the deception, is that we always try to figure out where something started. I believe, according to what I read in the Bible, that we are born in sin.
That is true.
We're born in sin. So for the homosexuals who say I was born this way, I'll give you that, because we're born in sin. I said it in a past show. You don't have to teach a 2-year-old to lie.
Right.
Who ate the cookie? I didn't eat the cookie.
I ate the
Cookie all on your face.
Yeah.
It don't have to be taught. You got to be taught to tell the truth. You got to be taught to share. You got to be taught to be honest. You got to be taught to be faithful. So we're born in sin. To say because you're born a certain, you don't have to be predisposed to something to be born in it. That's the result of the fall of man. Is we're born in a fallen state. Believers are born again. That's the whole concept of it. Is to say that I was born this way and I'm just stuck this way is to completely nullify the power of the cross. That's the whole point of the cross, is you don't have to be bound to what you were born into. And that's the whole point of it. So I believe you. You weren't predisposed to it, but for whatever reason, that was what you were born into. I was born into just the same thing, just lust for women. You know what I mean? So it's the exact same thing. I lusted after women my entire life and had sex with women and made mistakes in that, and it's no different. The distinguishing factor is by the cross and the blood of Jesus, we all have the power to be more like him. And whatever that looks like for us individually, it's a personal relationship. But we do all have that power. And that's what I believe. You know what I mean?
So the conversation that we're having is about the homosexuality, alternative lifestyle, lesbian lifestyle, and being a Christian. One of the reasons why I felt like the show was important to have and to have Whit on here is because although we may not agree on everything, I've always said that I don't believe that disagreements should be disrespectful. I believe that we should be able to have conversations, be able to share our viewpoints, and get a better understanding of one another. We're going to take a quick break. Don't forget, we got King's Common Sense coming up, as well as Christian's Intuition. We're going to have a little bit more with Whit. Show might go a little longer today.
Brit your wife.
Yeah, Brit my wife.
They do rhyme. And they're friends.
And they're friends.
All right, I'll give you
Brit and
that.
Whit. You know, as a matter of fact, before we go, it's a funny thing. When I first found Brittany on social media, there was pictures of Britt and Whit together, and I thought Britt was gay. I thought she was gay.
Almost missed out on your
Almost
blessing.
missed out on a blessing. I thought,
I mean,
We'll be right back.
we'll be right back for RSVP.
Love the classic movies? Well, 24 Flicks has you covered. You can watch some of your favorite movies and TV shows you've known and loved. Watch anytime and anywhere and as many times as you want. Simply go to 24flix.com and start watching now. 24 Flicks is your home for unlimited, family-friendly, on-demand videos.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Relatively Speaking, RSVP.
Yo.
Alongside my man Christian.
Yes, sir.
And Whit in the building with us. We're going to get back to the conversation, but to make it a little lighter in here. I mean, it hasn't really been heavy, but one of my favorite segments. We always have them. It's King's Common Sense Post of the Week. And it is brought to us from Shannon Jenkins. Why I say Shannon Alexander?
Shannon Alexander Jenkins.
Shannon Alexander Jenkins, Alexandra. It's probably her middle name. That's what it is.
Alexander Jenkins.
So we're going to put this up. A girl said, what if the zombie apocalypse really happened?
I don't get it.
She was trying to say apocalypse. But she put a pack of lips.
Let me see.
Instead of apocalypse right there. She put what if the zombie apocalypse. So she was obviously trying to say apocalypse, or she was at Popeyes ordering some food. She got a 6-piece, 2 breasts, 2 legs, 2 wings, and as a side order, give me a pack of lips.
Everybody have your chapstick when the zombies come, because it's going to come in handy at that point.
It's cool.
Have your Blistex ready.
Yeah, I don't know how she came up with that.
That's funny.
Shannon, you got a
$20 gift card coming your way.
Gift card.
Treat us to Popeyes. Take us to
That's going
Popeyes.
all the way out there. I think Shannon out there in LA doing a thing. So it's going to be a while.
Get that around Christmas.
It's going to be a while. That Visa cards show up. But once you get it, go out there and get you a pack of lips.
Yeah.
But we are talking about. I apologize, guys. I'm being silly. But we were previously talking about the alternative lifestyle of being a Christian, and I know that it cannot be easy. And then because you have some different stances on things, I know people. Eyebrows probably went up when you said you don't believe a pastor should be gay. So a couple of weeks ago, we did this article where they were saying that they were going to now make it mandatory for LGBTQ community history in elementary schools.
To be taught.
To be taught to the children. What are your thoughts on making something like this mandatory? Because I'm still very conflicted with the acceptance at what age. I'm still, when you go around children, you and your girlfriend, and you go around, you got friends, and maybe you go around your friends with their children. Are y'all just y'all, or do y'all say it's kids here? Let me dial it back a little bit.
We don't indulge in PDA around children.
Is there a specific reason? Is it just not y'all thing? Or are you subconsciously like, this our thing, I don't want to be that influence? Does that happen?
Exactly. We don't want to subject them to something that might not be their path. Let them make their own decision. Let us not influence that. We're just trying to live our life and be happy without people judging or influencing us. So we let other people live and enjoy their life without influencing them.
So earlier I mentioned that when I said there's no bigger community, the community of bullies.
Right.
Like, what do you
take me out of that category?
They might be in the comments right now.
So this might not even be aired. They took the joint off. But I know that you know that anytime there is a conflicting opinion, that community will they have the power to shut you down. And they will. Do you feel like that is, like, where's your stance on that? Are you like, they out of here, or are you divided on that?
People are so extra. I love my black community, and they are so extra sometimes, just like the LGBT community. I love them to death, but they can be so extra. Like me, I stay in my own bubble. I'm not your average I don't even say LGBTQ like
it's a lot of letters.
It is. It was first LGBT, now it's LGBTQ, XYZ.
I think they added a 7 soon. I don't know what's going on.
I don't understand why introduction of LGBTQ XYZ history has to be introduced to elementary. I feel like it's just another label. Like, we already got enough labels within the LGBTQ community.
Right.
Why do we have to have our own separate category in history? Like, first African American, first woman, first gay, lesbian, bi. Why can't we just be people?
I said they're not even accurately teaching American history yet.
That part.
Like, can we clean that up first?
So I'm on this dispensing of labels kick right now.
Okay.
All right. So this has been my thing for all of 2019, where I am just kind of like, the labeling thing really bothers me, and I'm talking about any label. And I've always wondered this, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. The LGBTQ community, they don't like the word normal. They don't like that word. So when we say this ain't normal or that ain't normal, they come at, if somebody says what you're doing is not normal, what's your stance on that?
What's normal?
What's normal? Right. All right. My mindset is, if it's all normal, why the label? Right?
Right.
So the rainbow is the, what is that thing? What do you call the rainbow? What is it? Their sign?
Logo?
Their logo type of thing. They use the rainbow. It's like anytime you see people with the rainbow, it's like they're saying, I'm gay.
Right.
Right? Why do you need a sign? Why do you need a logo if everything is everything? If everything is on the same playing field, why the separation? Why the gay pride?
I can answer that.
The gay pride parade and the,
right.
and the gay day, and if it's all normal, why we need a specific?
Okay. So it's just like Black History Month.
Right.
We have to we were excluded for 400 plus years.
Right.
The Black History Month is our inclusion.
Right.
I guess the gay pride parade is, so many years spent in the closet and finally being comfortable with who you are, just wanting to be accepted for who you are. That's our inclusion.
Okay.
I'll say that. The gay pride parade, we don't have a whole month. I don't think we need a whole month, but that's our thing.
Well, I don't think y'all need a month. I don't think y'all need a day. I think y'all just need to be. Just like Black people.
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with this Black History Month thing. Like, what the heck is that? Like, we should have Black History all the time. Like, why are we just getting a month?
No, I agree.
Like, we should have our time.
We get the shortest month.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like when we get the month, it's the different comes in. I feel like we now in a different area, and we not supposed to be in a different area because we was here. We just like y'all. I think when you start putting a label on it, it's like that's when you start making the distinction between this is different from that. And so I've always felt like, listen, we should have Black History. It shouldn't just show up once a month. I mean, once a year in the class, and all of a sudden we talk about Martin Luther King and this, and then after February 28th, all right, that's enough of that. We're not talking about that no more. Now we're gonna go and spend if you talk about 12 months in a year and you only get 1 year of it, and then the other 11, I mean, what do you think is gonna be more predominantly taught? What do you think is gonna be more predominantly looked at? And so I've just always wondered about that, as far as the inclusion, as far as the we just like everybody else, so let's just dispense with all the labels and all that stuff, and let's just take it straight down. But that was just my opinion. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because when it comes to the influence on children, all right, whether it's Black History Month, whether it's Gay Pride being taught in the schools or whatever, this is when, like you said, they're at their most impressionable age, right? And so, what they're learning, what we're teaching them, what they're talking about is very key and very crucial. And, when you say, I wasn't around this, that to me is that's a very key component to when we talk about what type of influence and how people feel like they derive to this conclusion. I wasn't around this, being raised by the dad. You got ladies that have boys in the house, single mothers. And they get to playing in the makeup, they get to playing in the hair. When those things happen, should we be correcting it? And why are we correcting it if it's normal?
I don't know. I agree with you. I agree with you 100% as far as the labels go. The dispensing of labels. It's counterproductive to say that we want to be included, but to create all of these separating and defining kind of like lanes where it's like only you can be involved in this, and only you can understand this, and only you can relate to this, and and you do all of that, but then accept inclusion and acceptance in the society. It's just counterproductive.
Yeah, I think it goes against each other.
Yeah.
But when you if you're in that situation, if you're in a situation where you have a young person, a young influential person, and I don't know what age to put on this. I don't know where to draw the line. But if you have a young boy, 4 or 5 years old, and you see him walking around in heels, do you feel like, no, don't do that? Or are you like, I don't know if y'all seen Dwayne Wade's son in this fashion show.
No.
So Dwayne Wade's son is in this fashion show, and from the looks of the picture, I mean, he might be 11, 12 years old. All right, he's in a fashion show, and I mean, he's giving it up. All right, he's tearing the runway up. I mean, it's just, it's a Y, a A, and a whole lot of S's. I'm just saying, when he come out, you can feel it, and then you see it on social media, and everybody's like, "That's right," and love your son and support and the blah blah, and they really like. There's really not nobody saying, where's the guidance, where's the program? Because can you say that? Can you even say that?
I think you can say that. I think it's the responsibility of the parent to train up the child in the way that they should go. And the promise of that verse is that when they get older,
they won't stray.
They won't depart from it. Now, older is,
I don't know when.
Later.
Right.
But it is your responsibility to train them, even if you're not seeing the immediate signs of what you're training them. Your faith should be, when they get older, they're going to remember this training.
Can you train a child to not be gay?
Can you train a child to not be gay?
Yeah.
I don't think you can. I think you can train a child to have God sit on the throne of your heart and be the most important thing to you. And if that's the case, you can't fix anybody. We were never intended to fix anybody. Like, that's not all our commandment is to love everybody. And the Bible says his goodness leads people to repentance. Not his judgment, not his anger, not his wrath. His goodness leads people to repentance. All we can do is train them and love them, and then we just leave them in God's hands. I hope they win.
I'm gonna ask this last question. I want to get both of you guys' answers on this. So what would be your approach if your 5-6-year-old son came out the room? I'm talking about, all the way made up. He's, this is me, Dad. This is me.
Got a little choked up there. I don't have any children, so I can't really speak with any accuracy. I think what I would do is sit my child down, explain to them why this is inappropriate to me, explain to them the difference in women's clothes and men's clothes, and just kind of try to be sensitive to that relationship and pay more attention to that area of the relationship.
I just heard 7 people log off, but go ahead.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I think homosexuality, as she said, is a sin. It's listed as a sin. So I would train my child to not practice homosexual behavior, just like I would train my child not to fornicate and not to lie and not to cheat on their wife. That's the training. Now, everyone's going to make mistakes. Right. You might do all of those things in your lifetime, but I still have to train you to do the opposite.
Let's say you guys decide that you want to have some kids, adopt, artificial inseminate, whatever, and y'all got this child. And, let's say it's a girl. She sees mommy and mommy. And she says, at 5-6 years old, I want to be like you. That's what I want to do.
I would.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah. I don't know. I would just revert back to my 5 or 6-year-old self, knowing how confused I felt and not saying anything to anybody because being ashamed or feeling like it was wrong. I wouldn't want my child to have that same feeling, so I would just let them know. Geez, I don't know what I would let them know. I would love her no matter what, obviously.
But would there be a distinction between right and wrong? Are we making a distinction? I mean, how can you look at your child and say girls like guys and guys like girls, but we different?
Right. I would just tell her to love what she loves. I would always keep her in the Word, keep her close to God, and let Him lead her.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be back with Christian's intuitions and final thoughts. It's RSVP. To listen and view Relatively Speaking video podcasts, subscribe to the YouTube channel, RSV Podcasts, also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. Join the RSV Podcast Facebook group to join in on the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is all. Relatively Speaking, we have done it again. It's now time for Christian's intuition. What you got for the people, man?
Well, I just want to allude to a verse that I referenced earlier and just read it because this is really my stance on the whole situation. If we're doing final thoughts, this is how I feel. 1 Corinthians 6, it says, "Do you not know that people who are unjust will not inherit God's kingdom. Do not be deceived. These are the sexually immoral, those who worship false gods, adulterers, homosexuals, thieves, the greedy, drunks, abusive people, and swindlers won't inherit God's kingdom. That is what some of you, talking to the church, used to be. But you were washed clean, you were made holy to God, you were made right with God in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. So I do agree that if the Bible puts all of these things in the same category, I'm going to put them all in the same category. I'm not going to treat a homosexual different than an adulterer, different than a liar, different than a fornicator, which some of those things I have been in my life. So I'm not going to treat anybody differently than myself, which is why the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. I believe that God's best for all of us. Only he knows. I believe we have a personal relationship with God, and I believe if you surrender to him, like the verse said, you can be washed clean. Whatever that looks like for you, it looks like for you, but I do believe it's possible for all of us. Main thing I want to say to the church and to believers, as I've been saying throughout this entire thing, is our responsibility is to love all people. That is our responsibility. That is our commandment, is to love all people. And I think I'm not God. So because my responsibility is to just love all people, and God's grace covers liars and God's grace covers adulterers, I don't know the answer to will homosexuals be in heaven, will fornicators, I don't know God's judging system. All I know is my response. I'm glad I'm not the judge, and my responsibility is to just love all people. And I think you may be, as a believer, a little surprised at who you see walking around in heaven with you. And it may make you feel like a complete idiot, or for some of the people that you judged on earth. So I'm gonna just make sure I stay out of that seat. I'm gonna love all people. And for anybody who is struggling with homosexuality or struggling with any sin, you can be washed clean because of the cross. We're born in sin, but we're born again.
Ladies and gentlemen, me personally, my final thought is gonna be more about myself. I am so jacked up, inside and out, so messed up, so off, that I don't even have time,
I ain't got time
to focus on somebody else's stuff. I'm telling you that right now. Whether you fornicating, whether you gay, I tell people all the time, listen, I hope it works out for you in the end, because I'm just trying to get in my daggone self. I don't know how it's all going to work out. When we all stand there, they ain't going to be looking around talking about, hold up, let me get my dog in. I'll be like, please let me in. Please, I'm sorry. So I feel like if we all start looking at things like that and start focusing on ourselves and what we got going on and not really, focusing on this and that, we do have these conversations because they're good to have conversations. And we do have opinions on these conversations, but none of us here have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. So whether I'm talking about pastors and money, or I'm talking about gay Christians, or I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about, it's just a conversation. But at the end of the day, listen, man, we all got to live our lives. We all got to live on this earth. So we might as well love each other while we're doing it, and just hope that at the end, we can all make it through them gates. My name is King.
I'm Christian.
And this was Relatively Speaking.
RSVP.